Hello, listeners, and welcome to this week's issue of West Lothian Boomerang. Our engineer tonight is the unflappable Paul, and our readers are myself, Bob,
me, Linda,
Steve,
George,
and Wendy.
And we'll crack on with the lead story of this week's West Lothian Courier. Fatality fears at Railway Bridge Road. Villagers are like first responders after crashes at accident black spot. Residents in call for urgent action over a spate of accidents. And this is an article by Stuart Somerville. Villagers living next to an accident black spot are demanding action after a spate of crashes in recent weeks. The road over the railway bridge in Harburn saw 4 serious accidents earlier this year, and there have been another 5 in the past few weeks. Locals say they feel like first responders after helping drivers while they waited for emergency services to arrive. Villagers now fear there may be a fatality on the bridge black spot before more effective warning signs are installed. And this is an article by Stuart Somerville. Villagers living next to an accident black spot have said they feel like first responders and are demanding something be done after a spate of accidents in recent weeks. The road over the railway bridge in Harburn saw 4 serious accidents earlier this year, and there have been another 4 in the past few weeks. A 5th, last Friday night, saw 2 people taken to hospital after locals helped out the victims as they waited for emergency services to arrive. And the next day, villagers rescued a van driver after his vehicle ploughed through a makeshift safety barrier. The Birmingham-based driver was shaken but unhurt after his long-tail transit van crashed down the embankment from the railway bridge. Villagers found themselves facing speeding drivers before police arrived as they tried to slow traffic in the aftermath of the crash. The van was recovered later in the morning by a local farmer who used his tractor to pull it up through the field. And while improvement work has started on the road, villagers now fear there may be a fatality on the bridge black spot before more strategic warning signs are installed. They have called for better signage to warn drivers to slow down as they approach the humpback bridge, which has a near 90-degree bend. All accidents saw safety barriers damaged and people taken to hospital. The safety barrier on the south side of the bridge was demolished 2 weeks ago after a motorcycle hit it. Police tape litters the site, and West Lothian Council has already carried out emergency repairs, including a temporary barrier when the latest accident happened on Friday at 9:45 p.m. The man living next to the railway bridge, Ross Stewart, works for the RAC. That's handy. And is frequently the first on the scene when accidents occur. Another villager, Alistair Hudson, said, on Friday, Harburn residents attended another serious accident on the East Torton Bridge involving a Motability Scheme car. The car was travelling from the west and failed to turn the sharp left bend and hit the railway bridge wall before careering over the side of the road into the embankment and hitting a tree. Local residents, including Ross, our own first responder, supported the incident. The emergency services were called and traffic control was established. As we waited, the passenger who has disabilities lost consciousness and suffered seizures. They were put into the recovery position until ambulance paramedics took over. Police arrived, plus a further ambulance to support the driver, who was also injured. Network Rail has also alerted due to the bridge receiving another heavy impact. They closed the railway line for inspection as there was a concern that wall debris may have fallen onto the track. The driver and passenger were taken to the Royal Infirmary and the road was reopened around 11:30 p.m. Network Rail completed their checks around midnight and reopened the line. Another villager, Alan McLaughlin, who first raised the plea for extra safety measures at a meeting of the Falthouse and Breich Valley Local Area Committee in June, said the ideal solution was to put in warning lights, such as those installed at similar bridges near Linlithgow. He said, at the very least, we need some illuminated signs. The road has become very much busier, and people tramp up the hill before they see the 30-mile-an-hour signs. They don't realise it's a humpback bridge on a near 90-degree bend. Allen and other villages have also called for the 30-mile zone to be extended on both sides of the bridge. That would slow traffic down well before encountering the bridge, you hope. The bridge has high parapets on both sides to ensure safety from the electrical gear running along the railway line. In addition, foliage has grown up around the bridge. All of these things add to the lack of visibility on either side of the approach. West Lothian Council agreed in June to new road lining and signs for the length of the B7000, which acts as a direct route to Livingston from the main A70 Lang Quang Road, which skirts the Pentland Hills. A West Lothian Council spokesperson said work is commencing this week to repair the barrier at the railway bridge. This reactive maintenance is required following a road traffic accident which damaged a steel barrier. We are aware that there has been a number of accidents at this location, and the B7008 has been identified as a casualty reduction scheme by our annual accident investigation and prevention process. As agreed by Council Executive, there will be further planned works on the route, and detailed design of these measures is now underway. And there's a photograph of the Ford Transit van which came to rest in a field when it came off the road, and speeding traffic going over the bridge black spot.
Warning after sharp objects found scattered, and a girl 10 has been left traumatised after impaling her foot on a nail. It's an unattributed article. A West Lothian mum has told of the horrifying moment her 10-year-old daughter stood on a 2-inch nail. Kylie Oldfield said the metal spike went right through primary 6 student Millie's foot, under her big toe, and came out the side on Thursday, August 22nd, near their home in Dedridge. She spoke about the horrific ordeal that left Millie screaming in pain and having to be carried into the house. Kylie said Millie answered the door and it was one of her friends, and she also spotted another friend coming toward the house. She ran out to go and see them, and all I heard was this god-awful scream. My middle daughter came into the room that I was in and said, Millie's hurt herself, and I saw that she was managing to hobble towards the door. A friend was around helping paint and decorate, so he went and scooped her up and carried her over to me. She was screaming. I won't forget that noise. Millie only ran out for a second. She was in her socks and didn't have her shoes on. But it wasn't even the biggest nail that went through her foot. I picked up several 3-inch nails out there. Even if she had shoes on, these nails would go right through most of them. Mum Kylie said her daughter was refusing to let anyone touch her foot. The friend was quick thinking and waited until the crying schoolgirl was cuddled into her mum and pulled the nail out in one go. Kylie said, she's such a delicate, tiny thing. Millie is freaking out that she has to go up to the hospital and get injections. She was at one point on the phone crying to her granny, saying, I don't know if I'll ever be able to walk again. I wanted to warn others because there are a lot of kids and dogs in the area. Can you imagine if a younger kid falls and it goes through their hand or face? And one neighbour even had to replace a tyre because of all the nails around here. which is not the cheapest thing to pay for.
Veterans Olympics, sporting success at Lynburn Centre. This is an article by Debbie Hall. Sight Scotland Veterans, a leading charity dedicated to supporting visually impaired veterans across Scotland, has been hosting its very own Veterans Olympics. Over the past few weeks, veterans from the Lynburn Centre in West Lothian, as well as others from across the country, have been competing in a series of inclusive and inspiring events, vying for gold, silver and bronze medals in a variety of different sports and activities. The Sight Scotland Veterans Olympics was designed not only to foster a spirit of healthy competition, but also to celebrate sportsmanship, camaraderie and community. Competitors showcased their skills in a wide array of sports, including archery, acoustic shooting, bowling, curling and axe throwing. In addition to the physical challenges, participants also took part in pool, dominoes, virtual reality games and Olympic-themed quizzes, ensuring that everyone got a chance to take part. Eileen Peat, activity worker at the Lynburn Centre in West Lothian, who was responsible for much of the organising of the events and medals ceremonies, said, "The Sight Scotland Veterans Olympics has been an incredible success, bringing joy and excitement to our veterans. Over the course of 2 weeks, the centres were alive with activity as daily events like bowling, archery, curling, axe throwing, pool, dominoes and quizzes gave everyone a chance to participate. We even adjusted our rota to ensure that all veterans could try their hand at new activities, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Veterans who had never experienced some of these sports and games eagerly took on the challenge, and the atmosphere was buzzing due to that added element of competition. The highlight for many was receiving their medals, which added a thrilling competitive edge to the event. It was a truly heartwarming to see the enthusiasm and determination in each participant, and the camaraderie that developed as veterans engaged with different groups and made new friends. The centres have been buzzing with energy, and it's clear that the hard work we put into organising the Olympics was well worth it. Many of our veterans have discovered new hobbies and interests because of their participation, which is a wonderful outcome. While it's a shame we must wait another 4 years to do it again, the impact of this event will be felt for a long time. Congratulations to all the medal winners, but in reality, every veteran who took part was a winner, having enjoyed such a memorable and rewarding experience." And there's some lovely pictures of the participants bowling and on the rostrum receiving their medals and holding the Olympic flame.
Join us in a song for a great new season. Men's Choir open to new members, an article by Robert Mitchell. Linlithgow Rugby Football Club Male Voice Choir are ready to welcome new members as they prepare for an exciting new season. Performances will include an early autumn concert at the town's St Michael's Church on Saturday, October the 5th, and a tour to Denmark in May next year. Key preparations for the 2024-25 season include the choir's annual open evening, which will be held this year at Linlithgow Rugby Club on Monday, September the 2nd, starting at 7:30pm. This provides a great opportunity for possible new members to come along and meet the choir in a totally informal atmosphere. Jim McGuigan, the musical director of the choir, explained, "As a conductor of the choir, it's particularly pleasing that the ongoing loyalty of our members, coupled with recruitment efforts over the past couple of years, have resulted in our number of singers currently standing at a healthy 38. Having a larger number in the choir has several advantages. It increases the availability of singers for concerts and events and allows us to produce consistently a more rounded musical sound. There's no upper limit on our numbers, and with adequate scope for new recruits. If you enjoy singing and you can hold a tune, why not come along and join us? There's no formal audition, we're a friendly bunch, and there's plenty of support available for both existing and new members." Choir Chairman Harry Lynch added, "Our choir continues to go from strength to strength, and during our 2023-24 season, we were involved in a number of events raising funds for various charities and good causes. Around Christmas, we performed at Easter Road in Edinburgh for FACE, Fight Against Cancer in Edinburgh, the Linlithgow Day Care Centre Carol Concert, and the Festival of Christmas Trees at St Michael's Parish Church. Out with the town, we also entertained the residents at Gilmerton Erskine Care Home for Veterans, performed at Shotts Henderson Theatre to help promote arts in the town, and crossed the Forth to sing in a joint concert within Curris Abbey at a fundraising afternoon to help save the iconic medieval building. We also fulfilled an unusual request to help a very worthwhile charity, Tartan Talkers, which is committed to the prevention of male suicide. Our contribution was to sing as part of a CD recording headlined by the Proclaimers, which was put on general release on August the 9th. We were also particularly pleased to receive confirmation from children's hospices across Scotland, CHAS, that our continuing contributions now total £16,950. So if you're new to the town or joining our choir is something you have often thought about, why not go along to the Rugby Club, Mains Road, EH49 6BU on Monday, September the 2nd. You can be sure of a warm welcome. For any further information about the open evening, the October 5th concert or the choir in general, please call Chairman Harry Lynch on 07540 634 550 or Secretary Jerry McLean on 07722 107 067. And there's a lovely cheery picture of the male choir looking very handsome in their kilts.
Bike Stinger creator still not identified. An article by Stuart Somerville. Police in Linlithgow have launched a fresh appeal to trace the creator of a homemade stinger which injured a cyclist. Officers are still investigating the anti-tyre device which was left on a track on Phillipston in March, potentially to deter motorcycles which are used regularly on the bings. But the only biker it did trap was one local on a mountain bike, taking out the tyres and injuring the rider. Sergeant Liam Arbuthnot said, "Inquiries are continuing, but there have been no more incidents reported." The police ward report to the committee added, "Routine patrols continue to be carried out in and around the ward areas in relation to off-road motorcycles. Inquiries remain ongoing regarding the use of spikes being left on the ground to where off-road bikes are being driven within the Phillipston Bing area. Foot patrols have been carried out there. The majority of calls are received regarding illegal use of bikes. This has resulted in engaging with members of the public and dog walkers, providing reassurance and helping generally. We urge members of the public to contact police with information regarding the identity of the riders when possible." It added, "Inquiry remains ongoing at present to identify a suspect. It was previously reported in March that a Linlithgow cyclist, Kitch Kent, was injured by a set of homemade spikes made out of nails welded on to a metal plate. The 50-year-old was riding down the North Bing near Phillipston on Saturday, March the 2nd, with his wife when he travelled over the strip of rusty metal with several nails welded to it. Travelling downhill at speed, the spikes were kicked up by his back tyre and punctured his skin through several layers of clothing as he came to a halt and warned his wife, who was following close behind. Another home device was found later the same day further along the same track. A spokesperson for Police Scotland confirmed there had been reports of the homemade traps laid in March. Police Scotland said this week At this time, officers carried out inquiries and patrols in the area, and although no one was identified, there have been no recent reports of these spikes. The stinger is more formally known as a tactical deflation device to burst car tyres. An interconnected roll of pliable metal spikes normally used by police officers to stop vehicles that they are pursuing or which are being driven dangerously. And at the bottom of the article there is a request: we urge members of the public to contact police. And there's a picture of the rusty metal bar with 10 very sharp nails, about 1.5 inches long, sticking up from the bar of metal. Looks very, very dangerous indeed.
Sports Club lands cash boost. And this article is unattributed. A house builder has served up a fantastic donation to a local sports club. Bellway Homes Limited, Scotland East, donated £2,000 to support this season's activities at West Lothian Community Table Tennis Club. Founded in 2000, the charity runs club nights at Bathgate Academy every Monday, Wednesday and Thursday from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. The club attracts all age groups and features family sessions. It also has a number of competitive squads playing in the Edinburgh and Lothians League, and also counts former Scottish men's single champion Colin Dalglish amongst its members. The donation will support the club's ambition for this season, which this summer have included pop-in and play free sessions and workshops at the Centre Livingston. Lynn Pringle, Sales Director, Bellway Homes Limited, Scotland East, said the club is a fine example of community participation, where a group of enthusiasts use their time and passion to support others. We're even looking at organising a come and try session in our office. The club offers such an inclusive environment, and we are delighted to lend our support. Jim Stewart, West Lothian Community Table Tennis Club trustee, said, "We are delighted to continue our relationship with Bellway, and their continued support helps us to bring free table tennis sessions to the local community. Further information is available from www.lcttc.co.uk/, and there's a photograph of some of the table tennis members gathered round the table.
A new documentary lifts lid on body under floor case, an unattributed article. A new documentary series has told how a West Lothian killer hid his wife's body under floorboards of their home. The episode on Netflix, Meet, Marry, Murder, details the twisted story of how Harry Jarvis hid the body just metres away from where his millionaire mistress slept in a shed. Jarvis murdered his wife, Carol Jarvis, who was aged 47, in September 2009 in their home in Bathgate. His mistress, the Just Roll pastry heiress, Rita Hayster, who was said to be infatuated with him, had bizarrely been living in the garden shed at the time of the murder. Jarvis's son Graham explains in the episode how the couple made the decision to move from London, where they met, to the town near Edinburgh after Harry had fallen out with his family. In the year 2000, a degenerative muscle condition saw Carol, then 38, become wheelchair-bound, after which Jarvis became her full-time carer. But before long, he began having affairs with other women and met Rita Hayster. Hayster needed a roof over her head after squandering her £2.5 million fortune. Jarvis, who was born in Grimsby, fitted out the garden shed with a mattress for her to live in, while Carol was bedbound just 4 feet away inside the house. Everyone knew she was living in the garden shed. It must have been the strangest circumstances for local gossips to talk about, barrister Tony Kent says in the documentary. Graham Jarvis explains how his dad, Harry, was responsible for administering the medication for his sickly mother and would give her so many sleeping tablets that she would sleep throughout the day. He said, when Dad had maybe went away on one of his vanishing episodes and we gave Mum her medication, she seemed to perk up a lot more, wake up and go back to getting out of bed. Alarm bells started ringing, but as young adults, how do you question your dad in terms of that she was fine 1 minute and then not the next? Twisted Jarvis and Hayster hatched a plan to poison and murder Carol, who had become an inconvenience, to allow them to be together. In a sick letter to Hayster, Jarvis wrote, "Drugs are doing job, just took longer than I thought, but going fast now. See you in paradise soon. Carol is dying as I write. Then we have house to ourselves and sell all in it to move on." When Carol's children visited the house and questioned Jarvis about her whereabouts, he bizarrely told them she was visiting Dundee because the couple were planning on moving there. That was the time that alarm bells started ringing that something wasn't right, Graham said. The siblings contacted police who visited the property and found Hayster hiding under a bed. Unbelievably, her and Jarvis told officers that she was in fact Carol, but one officer had previously met Carol and knew they were lying. Jarvis then told police that Carol was in Dundee and that he would travel the following day to collect her. Officers proceeded to search the house and soon discovered Carol's body underneath the floorboards. Because of the state of decomposition the body was in, investigators were unable to determine her cause of death. The twisted couple had gone on the run and police launched a manhunt to find them. They were arrested by police as they exited a bus in Edinburgh and taken to the police station to be interviewed. Jarvis told police that Carol had died after suffering a fit during sex with him after she asked him to strangle her, and that he'd placed her body underneath the floorboards because he couldn't bear to be without her. He pleaded not guilty to her murder, but the jury at the subsequent trial found him guilty. Jarvis was jailed for life in 2011 for the murder of Carol. He was ordered to serve a minimum of 15 years before being eligible for parole. Hayster was locked up for 4.5 years for helping to conceal Carol's body. Graham said, "I don't think I'll ever forgive him for what he's done." Jarvis died in prison of heart failure, aged 67, in 2017.
Wester Inch shops row continues. This is an article by Stuart Somerville. A house builder has appealed against the rejection of plans to build a village centre in the middle of a giant housing estate in Bathgate. Wester Inch was built 20 years ago and has 2,000 homes, but not a single shop. But the new plan detailed only 4 shops and a takeaway and offered more high-density housing, 70 flats and 15 houses, none of which the neighbours wanted. Persimmon Homes' plan was thrown out by West Lothian Council earlier this year. Neighbours said it would bring more traffic and destroy what little open space remains in the area. There were more than 70 objections from Bathgate residents, as well as one from the town's community council and one from GPs concerned that facilities could not meet the new demand. Persimmon has now appealed to the Scottish Government's Division of Environmental and Planning Appeals, DPEA. It will appoint a reporter who will make a final decision on whether the builders can start work. In response to the appeal, West Lothian Council lodged papers with the DPEA, stating the proposal would result in a loss of formal and informal open space. Further, it would have a detrimental impact on amenity due to the increased housing density on the site, the impact on healthcare provision, the lack of parking, given that the parking assessment carried out was inadequate, and that the site is neither derelict nor brownfield, as it has been used for many years as an informal open space. Local SNP councillor Willie Boyle has led objections when the planning application to develop the site at Simpson Avenue and Leyland Road came before the Development Management Committee in April. He branded Persimmon's plan for 4 shops a nonsense. Fellow Bathgate SNP councillor Pauline Stafford backed residents' fears of increased traffic at the lack of public transport. She told the meeting Wester Inch does have quite an oppressive feel when you drive through. It's almost a breath of fresh air when you get to this one open point that is an open space. She added the transport links will be impacted. We have heard from objectors what traffic is like at school times. We do have a bus service, but now we know how precarious it is because last year it was withdrawn and it's now only once an hour. The reality is that this is a very car-dominated development as it is, and to add another 85 houses, I think is too much. Wester Inch was built on the site of the former British Motor Corporation, BMC, lorry plant and other factories, which occupied the area until the early 1980s.
Second Connection for Business Opportunities. Free startup event will be rolled out in Whitburn Centre, an article by Debbie Hall. Business Gateway West Lothian has announced plans for its Second Connections and Conversations free startup event next week. The event is being held on Thursday, September the 5th at Whitburn Partnership Centre from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. to highlight the support available to help people in the local community get their business ideas off the ground. The Simplifying the Business Startup Process event, which follows on from the success of the first one in February this year, will include presentations from a team of Business Gateway West Lothian advisors, covering everything from planning and financial advice to marketing and HR support. Various local businesses who have received valuable support in their startup journey will also be attending to share their personal stories in a panel discussion followed by a Q&A, including Paul Stark, who founded Livingston-based Sustainable Sport in March. The company provides expert consultancy support to help organisations within the sports industry achieve their long-term goals whilst minimising their environmental impact. The support he received included guidance on the different types of legal structures for his businesses, allowing him to select the most appropriate option, and also advice on how to source startup funding to assist with initial capital expenditure costs, allowing him to get off to a great start efficiently and professionally. Claire McGurk, founder of Canine Bodywork Clinic, which provides canine hydrotherapy and clinical massage services, will also be talking about the support she's received for her Livingston-based business, which launched in January this year. This includes help completing a business plan with detailed financial projections, assistance with funding applications, advice when deciding on the structure of the company, and guidance and signposting on planning consents. The support enabled Claire to secure the appropriate funding to support the startup of the business, establish a clear and realistic set of financial projections, and create a strategy to help the business achieve its first 3 years' objectives. Former teacher Susan Grieve and pupil support worker Ben Faza-Kerley, who founded Positive Outcomes LP this month, will also be sharing the story of their startup journey, which began in March this year. The company, which specialises in offering after-school care, holiday daycare, respite, tutoring and support for homeschooling to families with children with ASN, is based in Mid-Calder Institute Hall Monday to Thursday and on Fridays at the Polbeth Hub. Lizzie Winton, team leader at Business Gateway West Lothian, said, "We are really looking forward to another event aimed at anyone who's thinking about starting a business or at the early stages and could benefit from a helping hand. It will be a great opportunity for attendees to hear from our guest speakers who will be sharing their startup journeys and the support they've received from our advisors, who will also be at the event to highlight the fantastic free resources available at Business Gateway West Lothian to help get your new venture off to a great start.
Newly released drugs deaths figures show slight drop. New figures for drug deaths in Scotland revealed that 31 people in West Lothian died of drug misuse in 2023, one less than the year before. Nationally, 1,172 people died from drug misuse in 2023, an increase of 12%. This means 121 more deaths than in 2022, and the second lowest number of drug misuse deaths since 2017. The rate of drug misuse deaths is still much higher than in 1996. A person for West Lothian's Alcohol and Drugs Partnership said any death from drugs was one too many. In West Lothian, the number of deaths recorded was 23 males and 8 females, compared with the 2022 figures of 22 males and 10 females. In the Lothian Health Board area in which West Lothian sits, the number of deaths rose to 182 last year from 166 the year before. National records for Scotland figures show that only East Lothian has fewer deaths, 20, than other neighbouring council areas. In West Lothian, the number was dramatically less than Edinburgh, with 111 deaths in Edinburgh, South Lanarkshire 71 deaths, North Lanarkshire 103 and Falkirk 36. Alison White, the chair of West Lothian Drug and Alcohol Partnership, said, "National records of Scotland reported that in 2023, 31 people from West Lothian lost their lives directly to drugs. West Lothian HSCP and Alcohol and Drug Partnership convey our deepest sympathy for the families and friends affected. Each and every death is one death too many." All services working in the local area continue to work together alongside communities to improve our services and tackle the wider inequalities that lead to drug deaths. We will ensure that people can access services through an approach embedded in human rights, placing every local council communities at the heart of everything that we do to improve outcomes for people and families affected by problematic drug use. In 2023, there were 1,172 drug deaths due to drug misuse registered in Scotland, an increase of 12%. 121 deaths compared with 2022. While drug misuse deaths in Scotland have generally been increasing over the last 2 decades, this is the second lowest number in the last 6 years. Drug misuse deaths are still much more common than they were in the year 2000. In 2000. After adjusting for age, the rate of drug misuse deaths were 5.2 times as high in 2023 than in 2000. In 2023, males were twice as likely to have a drug misuse death as females. Most of the increase in the past year was due to male deaths. Since 2000, the average age of drug misuse deaths has increased from 32 to 45. People in the most deprived areas of Scotland are more than 15 times more likely to die from drug misuse compared to people in the least deprived areas. The association of deprivation with drug misuse deaths is much greater than with other causes of death.
And now this week's intimations. There is just one death. Sarah Brown Bridges. Peacefully on the 18th of August 2024 at Kirk Lane Care Home, Sarah, beloved wife of the late George, much loved mum, sister, gran and great-gran. Now we'll continue with more local news, and this is an article which I think is a series in the Courier. It's headed Past Times. Marion McMullen recalls the arrival of 2 giant pandas in Britain 50 years ago and remembers other much-loved zoo stars. British Prime Minister Edward Heath brought home a special souvenir of his visit to China in the 1970s, 2 giant pandas. Chi-Chi and Ching-Ching were given as a gift by Mao Zedong and the Chinese government to the British people and arrived at London Zoo 50 years ago on September the 14th, 1974. Chi-Chi, which means most excellent and very best, and female Ching-Ching, which translated at crystal bright, each weighed about 100 pounds and could easily munch their way through half a ton of bamboo a week. They made their journey to the UK in style, travelling aboard a specially equipped British Airways 707 cargo jet that even included panda-sized oxygen masks for the animal guests. The arrival of the duo at London Zoo saw visitor numbers double from 8,000 to 16,000 in just 3 weeks, and Edward Heath himself loved to visit the pandas. There's a photograph of the 2 pandas settling into their new home, and there's a photograph of Edward Heath actually waving to the panda, who is taking no interest whatsoever and is busy stuffing bamboo into himself. Anyway, it was hoped 22-month Chi-Chi and 2-year-old Ching-Ching, who came from the Wangland Reserve in Pingwu County, northern Sichuan, would eventually mate and produce panda cubs. Expectations were certainly high in 1981 when it was believed Ching-Ching might be pregnant following artificial insemination treatment. A closed-circuit television set was even installed at London Zoo to capture the birth, but it proved to be a phantom pregnancy, and Ching-Ching never became a mother. The pandas have not been the only star attractions at London Zoo. Guy the gorilla arrived from a Paris zoo on Guy Fawkes Day, on 1947. He weighed just 14 pounds when he turned up clutching a tin hot water bottle, but the gentle giant eventually tipped the scales at a whopping 33 stone. He became a favourite with visitors and was known to gently scoop up sparrows that flew into his enclosure before releasing them. His statue can still be seen at the zoo, and there's a picture of gentle giant Guy. I wouldn't say he's handsome, but I suppose he's just a gorilla. If you've ever wondered why so many elephants are nicknamed Jumbo, it's because it was the title given to an African bush elephant who arrived at London Zoo in 1865. He stood nearly 11 feet tall and was thought to be the world's largest elephant at the time. He quickly became a firm favourite with visitors, and even Queen Victoria and her children were fans. There was a public outcry in 1882 when Jumbo was sold to American showman P.T. Barnum, who exhibited him in front of the American public. It is estimated that around 20 million people saw Jumbo during the 3 years he spent stateside. However, it took animal keeper Matthew Scott 3 days to persuade Jumbo to enter his travel crate to start his new life in America. Brumas was the first baby polar bear to be successfully reared in Britain. The cuddly superstar was born on November the 27th, 1949, to Mother Ivy and her father Misha, and was named after her keeper Bruce and Sam. And there's a picture of Brumas, much more attractive than the gorilla, I have to say. Visitor figures jumped from 1 million to a record-breaking 3 million following her birth, and a young Princess Charles even paid her a visit. Her celebrity led to toys, books, and even postcards being brought out. Brumas was mistakenly called he at first, before being revealed as a female polar bear. She passed away in 1958 at the age of 9. King Penguin Sir Nils Olaf waddled into the history books in 2008 when he received his knighthood from the Norwegian King's Guard at Edinburgh Zoo. He became the first black and white pint-sized Norwegian sir with wings after inspecting the guards who were over for Edinburgh's annual military tattoo. His full title is now Major General Sir Nils Olaf III, Baron of the Bouvet Islands. He's named after Major Nils Egelian, who organised the adoption of the first penguin as mascot and Colonel-in-Chief back in 1972, and the then Norwegian monarch King Olaf. A bronze statue of the penguin stands at the King's Guard compound in Oslo. Meanwhile, Hood Island giant tortoise Diego was named Sex Machine after fathering more than 800 children. You can switch off if you don't want to hear this, but the giant tortoise, believed to be more than 100 years old, was brought in to help save his entire species from extinction on the Galapagos Islands of Santa Cruz. At the time, there were only 12 females and 3 males left on the island. Diego had called San Diego Zoo home for 30 years. When the shelled Lothario was flown from the Californian Zoo to head up the island breeding program more than half a century ago, he is said to have sired 40% of the 2,000 giant tortoises alive today. Ecuador Environment Minister Paulo Proafia Andrade said, following Diego's well-earned retirement, that he should be proud of saving the species from extinction. And there's a photograph of Lothario Diego.
Affordable home plan is approved, an unattributed article. A plot of 15 affordable homes will be built in Linlithgow. Councillors have approved a building development in Deanburn after a previous plan for a site near West Calder was dropped. Local Housing Officer Manager Phyllis McFadgen told the town's local area committee that the plan for a site at Moss End would be replaced by 15 units at Deanburn in Linlithgow and 5 units at sites in Livingston. She added, the proposed new build is always welcome. It will be a great addition. Councillor Pauline Orr said it's really positive to see that we're going to have 15 new builds in the Deanburn area, which I think is really good news to hear. I wasn't expecting that. Do we have an idea when they will become available to let? The committee's lead officer, Graham Struthers, said the completion date would be in 2025 or 2026. Councillor Sally Patel said, I'm sorry that Moss End is not going ahead, but for Linlithgow it's fantastic. It's a really good news story because of all the pressures there are on social housing in the ward. It's just a change of plan. It's really good that nothing has been lost. A report to the Council's Housing Services Policy Development and Scrutiny Panel this month said, negotiations have progressed with Cala Homes for the direct purchase of the completed affordable housing units at the Deanburn development in Linlithgow, which will provide much-needed council housings in an area of high demand. The mix is reflective of demand, with some amenity bungalows incorporated into the development. It is estimated work will start on site in January 2025, with completions in 2026. The same meeting heard that the Moss End site had been removed from the current building programme, but the developer said, though the site may still proceed, it is unlikely to meet programmed completion dates.
Laura has got the chance to win for children's book, teacher nominated for National Award, and this is an article by Debbie Hall. A West Lothian teacher's efforts to connect children to their rights through the power of the Scots language has been recognised with a nomination for the prestigious National Award. Laura Green from Whitburn translated Let's Explore Our Rights as part of a campaign by Scotland's and Young People's Commissioner to help young children begin to understand their rights. The Commissioner, Nicola Killian, launched the book last November to coincide with St Andrew's Day, making it freely available to nurseries and families across all 32 Scottish local authorities. Since then, thousands of children have enjoyed the story as schools use it to introduce the United Nations rights of the child to ensure that children gain an understanding of the protections they are entitled to in society. In addition to teaching, Laura is also Education Officer at the Scots Language Centre, which sees her promote the language in schools, libraries and communities across Scotland. When writing the book, she drew upon the experience by bringing together some of the best-known words and phrases spoken by children across the country. The project has proved so successful that Laura has been shortlisted in the Bairns Book of the Year category at the Scots Language Awards, which recognise excellence in promoting Scots. The event will be held at Cumnock Town Hall next month, with winners being decided by an online public vote. The award also recognises the growing cultural interests in Scots, with census data published early this year showing the number of people who speak or understand Scots increased to 46.2% from 37.7% in the 2011 version. Now people across West Lothian are being encouraged to vote online for Laura and bring the award back to the county. Voting is now open and runs until Thursday, September the 8th. Laura said, "I'm deeply honoured to be shortlisted for this award, as it once again shows the power of Scots to connect people with wider societal issues. When the Commissioner approached me about translating the book, I saw it as an opportunity to make the idea of rights relatable to children by using the words they hear at home, in their families or within their communities. Scots words have echoed in the school playgrounds for hundreds of years, and this was a unique opportunity to also put them at the heart of children's learning in the classroom. The language continues to evolve and grow with new words and speakers, and this is something we should celebrate and encourage, especially when it comes to children. I've been delighted with the success of the book, with it being used in schools and nurseries across Scotland. Given that one of the rights children have is to use their own language, it is great that the Children's Commissioner is supporting children's Scots by making the book available in one of the most widely spoken languages in our country. Commissioner Nicola Killian added, "Let's Explore Our Rights" explains to very young children in a way that can understand what rights are and why they are important, and we are delighted that we now have a Scots edition. All children should be able to access information about their rights in their own language, and this book helps teachers to have those first conversations in Scots about human rights with young children. And there's a picture of Laura with some copies of the books that she's written.
Appeal to identify salon thieves, an unattributed article. Staff at a West Lothian salon have been left gutted after their shop was broken into on Saturday morning in Bathgate. Brazen thieves were caught on CCTV breaking into Optimo Bathgate on Hopton Street before allegedly nicking a number of valuable items. Owner Laura Rocks has said she is absolutely devastated and is appealing for information from the public. It's understood 2 males entered just after 4 a.m. on August the 24th and snatched items including an HP desktop, an Apple iPad, a Parlux pink hairdryer and an entire makeup kit. Officers are aware and say inquiries are ongoing. Laura wrote on social media, "We are absolutely devastated by this and we need your help. We've got CCTV images that we'll be sharing along with videos. Please take a close look. Can you recognise these people or even something as specific as their shoes? They're very distinctive." They took several valuable items, including an HP desktop, an iPad, and Parlux pink hairdryer. And heartbreakingly, our makeup artist Shanann entire makeup kit was taken. Shanann is now unable to work and serve her clients, which is a devastating blow as this was her income. The power of social media is incredible, and we are asking you to please help us to identify these horrible individuals. Any information could be critical. Let's work together to bring them to justice and prevent this sort of thing happening to anyone else. A Police Scotland spokesman said, "We received a report for theft from premises on Hopton Street, Bathgate, around 8:15 a.m. on Saturday, August the 24th, 2024. Inquiries are ongoing, and anyone with information is asked to contact 101, quoting reference, 0932 of 24th August 2024. Visit the Optimo Facebook page for pictures of the suspects."
State pension campaigners reckon they've hit a milestone. Women Against State Pension Injustice, WASPI, campaigners in West Lothian believe that their campaign has reached an important milestone. Emma Reynolds, the Under-Secretary of State for Pensions, has agreed to meet WASPI representatives next month. For the first time, there will be a face-to-face meeting with a minister, said Carla O'Hara, coordinator of the WASPI West Lothian group. On March the 21st, the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman published his final report. It announced that the Department for Work and Pensions was guilty of maladministration because it failed to provide proper information to 1950s women about delays to their state pension age, that the women involved suffered injustice as a result, and that they should receive compensation. Injustice has been proven and we are due compensation, added Ms O'Hara. The government must understand the urgency of this matter. One 1950s woman dies every 13 minutes, so we need a compensation scheme now, and it is Parliament's duty to implement this. There's no time to lose. She continued, "I'm grateful to our MP, Gregor Poynton, for meeting with me to discuss compensation for 1950s women and for agreeing to write to the Minister. A further meeting with members of the WASPI West Lothian group will be arranged when Parliament returns. A drop-in session for MPs has been arranged by WASPI on September 11th in Westminster, and I'm pleased that Gregor has agreed to attend." MP Gregor Poynton said, "I have written to the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions to ask her to address the concerns of WASPI women following the March 2024 report from the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman. The report reveals the serious injustices faced by women due to the Department for Work and Pensions' failure to properly inform them about changes to the state pension age. I believe it is crucial for the government to provide clear communication and meaningful engagement with those affected. I have asked for a timeline for decisions and for WASPI campaigners to be actively involved in the process so we can restore confidence and ensure their voices are heard."
Bathgate is my kind of town, and this is an unattributed article. Bathgate is to be the focus of a new episode of BBC Scotland series My Kind of Town. The show features reporter Ian Hamilton and his guide dog Major visiting towns around Scotland, meeting local people, groups and businesses, and an episode about Bathgate will be shown on BBC Scotland channel and BBC iPlayer on Thursday, September the 5th. As Ian finds out, it's a town with an incredible industrial past, which is now a popular commuter area for Edinburgh. He helps out in an award-winning butcher's shop, aye, that's the Boghall Butchers, and helpfully offers to do some taste testing, then works it off by climbing a hill to find some Neolithic remains. He then investigates the town's stunning historical theatre and meets the local brass band, as well as some exciting young local filmmakers. And after all that work, he gets the chance to relax in Scotland's biggest flotation centre. My Kind of Town, Bathgate, will be on the BBC Scotland channel on September the 5th at 8:30 p.m. I can recommend it. He's good, this guy.
Some Paralympics news. This article entitled Never Give Up is by Will Castle. Cadina Cox's parents knew they had something special on their hands when she started riding a bike without stabilisers at the age of 1. Her mother, Jasmine Cox Williams, remembers, Cadina would scare me sometimes as she'd come full speed on her bike and I'd just tell her to stop. She'd smile and then brake. She was only tiny when she began riding a bike and had great balance. However, she also used to fall a lot and her knees would be cut and bruised. You would expect her not to want to get back on, but she would simply let me clean her knees up, then be straight back on the bike. A disposition to dust herself down and get on with it would serve Cox well in the years to come. The 33-year-old became known as Parasport's ultimate all-rounder, the first British Paralympian in a generation to strike gold in 2 sports at 1 Games. Cox captivated the nation with her juggling act across cycling and athletics at Rio 2016, but her sporting odyssey in fact began as a field hockey player at Wetherby High School. Cox, who was born to Jamaican immigrants, initially gravitated towards team sport before her hockey coach suggested she tried sprinting, such was her speed on the pitch. Throughout the twists and turns of her remarkable sporting life, the Yorkshire star has always been guided by having fun. As a young athlete, I did everything because I just really enjoyed sport, said Cox. I'd encourage people to enjoy everything you can while you're young and specialise when you're older. There's no point in doing a sport for the sake of fitness that you don't enjoy, because you'll easily fall off. You've got to enjoy it. In 2013, Cox joined Sale Harriers as a non-disabled sprinter, but her world was turned upside down a year later. She suffered a stroke and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a condition that can affect the brain and spinal cord, causing a wide range of potential symptoms, including problems with vision, arm or leg movement, sensation and balance. I was horrified that my life was going to be revolving around not being independent, Cox said. I managed to use sport to give me a goal and give me something I could control, and it was kind of what allowed me to get over it in a relatively short period of time. The diagnosis has definitely changed the way I think about things and my outlook. I think now more about living each day as it comes and taking every opportunity that's in front of me. You don't know when things are going to change. You don't know when your life's going to end. You don't know what's going to come as a challenge. So if you've got an opportunity, I always think take it while it's there, because you might not ever have the opportunity to do it again. The process of coming to terms with her disability led to a shift in her sporting role models too. Cox said, my inspiration used to be an athlete called Allyson Felix, an American 400-metre runner. She runs so amazing and so graceful, and she's a lovely person. But then I became a Paralympic athlete, and I'm surrounded by people that are doing amazing things every single day. These are the people that became my inspiration. When you're with people that have got everything against them and they've had so many setbacks, but they still go on to push through things, they're the people that become your inspiration. After enduring a life-altering 2014, it didn't take long for Cox to regroup and realign her goals, making the 2016 Paralympic Games in Rio. She was successful in her pursuit, earning a Paralympic berth in both track and field as well as track cycling, and she went on to instantly set the world alight. Cox captivated the masses by securing gold medals in both the cycling time trial and the 400-metre sprint, etching her name in history as the first British Paralympian to win golds in multiple sports at the same Games since Isabel Barr in 1984. She followed this up with 2 more cycling golds at Tokyo 5 years later, maintaining her status as one of the jewels in GB's Paralympic crown. Plenty of history was made in the Japanese capital, with Cox's fellow paracyclist George Peasgood winning the 1000th medal for Great Britain and Northern Ireland since the start of National Lottery funding. With her third Games on the horizon, Paris 2024 poses yet another opportunity for Cox to steal the headlines, acting as an inspiration and a trailblazer for many. But as she looks ahead to this summer, Cox admits that due to her physical limitations, she can't train as hard as she would in the past, especially when it comes to sprinting, the discipline she's favoured since her teenage years. It's a balancing act, she said. I've got a great physio team and we just make sure that I'm staying in one piece. I do still love athletics. It was always my first passion, so I do lean towards that. But because of how my body breaks down, I have been doing a bit more cycling because it's low impact. I've been doing something called the lever movement to allow me to do non-weighted running, which takes a large percentage of my body weight, so that's helped. It's about being smarter and not training as hard as I used to. Cox's story is one that has resilience running through it like a stick of rock, as those closest to her can attest to. She never gave up, said Mum Jasmine. What she was like as a tiny child on a bike is what she is like now. She gets straight back up.
Pedestrians at risk from tourist buses. This is an article by Stuart Somerville. Tourist buses parking on Linlithgow Cross are posing a danger to pedestrians, a councillor claimed. The problem is worse at the weekend, when coaches disgorge passengers and park up there, while visitors tour the famous palace. Councillor Sally Pattle told a meeting of the town's local area committee that there were regular concerns about unsafe parking at the junction. She said, over the summer, there are these tour buses not just dropping off visitors, they're sitting at the cross. It's dangerous and it's illegal because it really hampers visibility. There's people, there's children, there's dogs going about. It's generally on a Saturday morning and on a Sunday. It's fine to drop visitors off, but not just sit there. They do it once and they're not spoken to, so they think they can do it again. Locals were also contributing to traffic problems by ignoring the parking restrictions on the high street outside Boots, according to veteran Labour councillor Tom Conn, who said many need to go to Specsavers. Councillor Conn told the meeting, it's the same vehicles, the same number plates all the time. It's repeat offenders. Even coming up this morning, I wish I had a dash cam. At Boots, where there are zigzags directly outside, a vehicle crossed from the other side of the road and parked on them. It's an issue which keeps coming up. I really do think some in the town should get their eyes tested, because they are in danger to the public if they park on zigzag lines. He added that the problems at the cross had been made worse because communal bins have now been placed at the Vennel behind the flats in the 1960s buildings, but the bin lorry can frequently not reach them because the road is blocked. Councillor Conn said, there are cars parked on double yellow lines as a matter of routine. If you come on a Sunday morning, there's a standoff from people trying to get into the car park and out of it after church, and the people parked on the double yellows blocking the road. He added, I did remonstrate politely with a member of the public who drew up as I was crossing over. I said to him, "There's a car park there and it's free on a Sunday. Why are you not using it?" The glare I got was that it was none of my business. A police representative urged councillors to alert local officers to the identities of the tour bus operators and said he will speak to the community team about concerns at the cross and outside boots.
Chance encounter that set Fachi on the road to para-glory. This is an article by Mohammed Hamza. Since his first jump on a mountain bike in the northeast of Scotland, cycling has been Neil Fachi's one-way ticket to freedom. Now the owner of 2 Paralympic gold medals and 19 world titles, it has been a complex sporting and even bumpy journey. But Fachi has never lost the magic of what it means to be someone with near total blindness to be on 2 wheels. He said, "Cycling has opened me up to the freedom to explore the world and give me the confidence as a person to express myself, to go out and to take on the world." Born in Aberdeen, Fachi spent his youth riding a mountain bike around the Granite City. A bundle of energy, he found athletics at the age of 10, joining Aberdeen Amateur Athletics Club, but only became aware of parasport in 2005. 3 years later, he found himself at the 90,000-seater Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing, waiting for the start gun on the 100 metres. "It was overwhelming," he said. "I saw these apartment blocks draped with national flags, people from all across the globe, all with different disabilities, this hugely diverse place. That was when I fell in love with the Paralympics." It was a bittersweet experience, however, as he finished 9th in the 100 metres and the 200 metres, results that almost made him give up competing. It was a chance encounter at a velodrome taster session in Manchester that changed his life. Fellow Scot Craig McLean, Olympic sprint silver medalist at Sydney, was in the midst of moving to become a pilot on a tandem and aiming for Paralympics. He told Fachi the team were desperate to find a visually impaired athlete to sit on the back, not as a stoker. "It was meant to be, and it turned out that cycling was the sport I should have been doing all along," said Fachi. "Since then, it's been a long journey of losing many races and turning a hobby into a career. I can't thank the National Lottery enough for allowing me to be able to train full-time." He is now one of the greatest riders in para-cycling history and the first man to ride the 1 kilometre time trial in less than 1 minute. And there's pictures of Neil Fachi and Craig McLean, with each having 2 Commonwealth medals on display that they won at previous games.
Free gardening help at Dobies. As the cooler days of autumn approach, Dobies is inviting families and gardening enthusiasts to its Livingston Garden Centre to gear up for a colourful spring with its free monthly Grow How sessions this September. Grow How provides a welcoming space for gardeners of all ages and skill levels to learn, share and get growing. The series of informal workshops will take place at Dobies Livingston store on the first Saturday of the month. Then they take place every Wednesday throughout September at 10:30am and 3:30pm. The 15-minute demonstrations, led by Dobies' friendly and knowledgeable colleagues, are packed with practical tips and engaging Q&A sessions, making them a perfect outing for anyone looking to learn more about gardening. September's workshop, Getting Ready for Spring in September, is all about preparing for a burst of springtime colour as Dobies takes delivery of over 6 million spring flowering bulbs across its stores. Participants will discover the best bulbs for spring displays, including top picks for the season, vibrant tulips, cheerful daffodils and delicate crocuses. These flowers are not only easy to plant, but also promise a stunning array of colours, perfect for brightening up any garden. Attendees at Dobies Livingston store will learn how to create a beautiful bulb lasagna, a technique of layering different bulbs in one pot. For more information about the Grow House sessions and to secure a spot, visit www.dobies.com/events.
You can't avoid noticing that the Courier have taken interest in the Paralympics. And this is an article by Ben Hart, and it's entitled, Beware the Hurricane. Hannah's so competitive she even races her fiancé around the house. Hurricane Hannah Cockcroft is so hardwired to win that she even challenges fiancé Nathan Maguire to duels at home. The Halifax star, aged 31, has made wheelchair racing her own for the last decade, seizing 7 Paralympic golds, 14 World Championship titles and 5 world records. She has made a sizable contribution to the 2004 Olympic and Paralympic medals won by British track and field athletes since National Lottery funding began in 1997. Few have been quick enough to keep pace with Cockcroft on the track, but husband-to-be and fellow wheelchair racer Maguire revels in putting her reflexes to the test. We're both incredibly competitive, she said. Around the house, everything is a race. Nathan will always walk 2 steps ahead of me, just so that he's winning in life somehow, but I always like to remind him that I have more medals in the cupboard. We'll do silly things like who can get up and get a drink quickest from the kitchen, or who can then drink the drink quickest. That's not a very good idea. It's just ridiculous little things which I think people watching just go, you two are mad. Cockcroft has been overcoming challenges for as long as she can remember. Shortly after she was born, Cockcroft suffered 2 cardiac arrests which left her with brain damage. As a result, her hips were weakened and her legs and feet were similarly affected, but that didn't stop her dreaming big. She recalls, at 3 years old, I wanted to be a ballerina, not the best career path for a girl that could barely stand up. Following that, a pop star was a strong favourite, along with an actress or a princess. It was not until year 8 that Cockcroft realised there were opportunities for wheelchair users to pursue a career in sports. My PE teacher, Mrs. Daniel, managed to get the local wheelchair basketball team to come and do a demo in school, and the rest is history, really. Had she not invited the team in that day, I might never have found a pathway into wheelchair sports. Fast forward 7 years, and Cockcroft was a Paralympic champion. It was just after London 2012, with her first Paralympic gold medals in the bag, that Cockcroft and Maguire met for the first time. The pair yet met again properly in the lead-up to Rio in 2016, with Maguire on the relay team with Cockcroft's training partner Richard Chiasaro, and they grew closer from there. Maguire, who won relay silver in Tokyo and gold in the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, is hoping to hit the same heights as his betrothed. But Cockcroft senses the 26-year-old is on the cusp of cracking the T54 category. Nathan has not been in the sport for as long as I have, so I definitely have experience over him. But I think watching him, especially over the last 3 years, he's really been breaking chunks off, getting closer and closer to those medals that he really wants, said Cockcroft. He has it deep within him. I think he can win some medals in Paris. It's going to be tough, They are such close races, anyone could come first or eighth, but that makes it exciting. I know that if he makes the right decisions on the day, then he can definitely cross the line first. The pair feature in a new documentary, Path to Paris, Paralympic Dreams, airing on Tuesday, August the 27th at 10 p.m. on Channel 7, which follows the couple and 3 other British athletes as they prepare for the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, offering a unique insight into how national lottery players have supported them on their journeys. If Hollywood was writing their script, then the Paralympic power couple would raise a toast to a successful summer at their post-Paris wedding, and Cockcroft jests that she's only interested in a golden groom. If he doesn't bring home a medal, I might not marry him, she joked. Whatever happens, our wedding will be a massive celebration, and I'm not wishing my days away, but I can't wait. With more than £30 million a week raised for good causes, including vital funding into elite and grassroots sport, national lottery players support our Olympic and Paralympic athletes to live their dreams and make the nation proud, as well as providing more opportunities for people to take part in sport. To find out more, visit lotterygoodcauses.org.uk.
And I have another Paralympic Games article. The headline is No Punches Pulled for Fashion Victim, an article by Millie McAvoy. Band of brothers or pack of hyenas? Chris Skelly would not swap his British judo squad for anything. The reigning Paralympic champion has made bonds for life with his training partners at the National Centre in Walsall. Although the Hull native does admit they can be brutally honest, particularly when it comes to Skelly's fashion sense. It's like a brotherhood for me. It's like family, he said. We're a very close family and we're a very committed team. But we do like to take the mick out of each other quite a lot. And if someone does something stupid, you're pounced on by what I say is a pack of hyenas. I've made some amazing friends in this journey who I will keep in touch with for the rest of my life, and I'm very lucky to have in my life. I am proud to be part of this team and I love it. The self-proclaimed least fashionable member of the squad was invited to the GQ Awards, having become one of the names of the Games with gold at Tokyo 2020. He will look to add a second crown to his collection at Paris 2024 in the over 90 kilogram category before turning his attention back to family life. I just need to take a bit of a sabbatical and take care of myself mentally and physically, said Skelly, who will benefit from Aldi and Team GB's Nearest and Dearest programme in Paris. I need time with my wife, time with my family and friends, but I am never going to leave judo. If I do stop competitively, I'm going to go and try and help the next generation. I think this sport is incredible. I think this sport can help people and save people, and I am always going to remind people of that. And whatever happens, I'm still going to be in and around it, still doing it recreationally and keep loving it. Aldi's Nearest and Dearest programme helps maximise support and minimise potential distractions for athletes so they can focus on their performance and make the most of the unique opportunity to compete on one of the world's largest stages. Skelly married former wheelchair tennis player Louise Hunt in 2022 after the pair met at his first Paralympics in Rio. Although Skelly, who was speaking as an ambassador for Aldi, has to spend plenty of time away from their Swindon home, Hunt is always there to give him a helping hand or be his date to award shows. He added, going to the GQ Awards as the most unfashionable man in British judo, most of the guys were laughing at me. I'll be honest and open, my wife does dress me. However, when I'm living in Walsall training, I do dress myself. I'm not the most fashionable man. I do like my Crocs, tracky bottoms and sweatshirts. But to be invited to the GQ Awards was ridiculous. You never think of being in that environment, but I was very honoured to represent Paralympics GB British Judo and Aldi.
Dreadnought date for punk duo The Meths. Brit punk duo The Meths will be playing a special show at the Dreadnought Rock in Bathgate to celebrate becoming patrons of Music Venue Trust, MVT. They will be performing on Thursday, September the 12th, to back the charity that represents hundreds of UK grassroots music venues. The band join an ever-expanding list of musicians, including Paul McCartney, Frank Turner and Katie Tunstall, who support the work of the organisation. Grassroots venues are why we have been able to gig so much, said the Meths. Some that we played when starting out have shut down. We've seen firsthand the funding put into the music industries of other countries and the impact of this funding. As a band, we will continue to fight to keep venues open and live music alive in the UK. With MVT around, there's hope. To celebrate becoming patrons, the band has announced a 9-date MVT cohorts tour, predominantly in cities and towns that they have never headlined or played, including Bathgate. Mark David, CEO and founder of Music Venue Trust, said, "The number of people in the UK able to access fantastic live music by the most exciting new acts in their own towns and cities has been in decline for years. But since the pandemic, the number of tours and the number of shows per tour has dropped off the edge of a cliff. MVT is determined to tackle this and to ensure that the very best new music can be celebrated right across the country. The Meths are electrifying audiences wherever they play, and we are determined to show that an artist like this really should be playing everywhere for everybody. That's how we build audiences, and it's how we build communities." MVT cohorts, organised by Music Venue Trust, is a new initiative aiming to combat the shrinking tour circuit. Increased costs of touring, including fuel, accommodation and transport, and uncertainty about the impact of cost of living crisis on ticket sales are forcing agents and artists and managers to reduce the financial risks associated with playing extensive nationwide tours. As a result, tours are focusing on major cities and missing out grassroots music venues in hundreds of towns, rural areas and smaller cities across the country. Established grassroots venues are no longer being offered touring artists, and music fans are increasingly no longer able to see their favourite artists or discover new ones without travelling to the major cities. The MVT Cohorts project will underwrite the costs of the shows, ensuring that both the artists and venues receive guaranteed fee, removing the financial uncertainty that comes with the extending tours in the UK, thereby allowing the artists to diversify their tours and play outside the major cities and the venues to programme diverse and varied gigs. For future tours, MVT will organise grassroots music venues into cohorts, networks of venues, each with its own distinctive identity, facility or approach, but which all share a common theme and goal to support touring artists and development. A cohort might denote a group of venues that specialise in certain musical genres, reflect venues with a unique production style, such as seated atmospheric or small capacity, or have specific audience demographics that are underserved. Each cohort will form a preset and agreed touring opportunity, which artists, agents, managers and promoters can tap into to support tours reaching those areas currently being left behind, helping to prioritise places and communities most in need of cultural investment. And there's a photograph, a black and white photograph of the two guys in the Meths with their white T-shirts and magnificent tattoos. And there's a couple of pictures of them playing live as well.
Another short Paralympic story. Mr. England takes para glory. Jack Ayers was crowned Mr. England and used to be a model, but it is with para canoeing that he is finally making it to the fashion capital of the world. The Bournemouth native has been selected for his first Paralympics in Paris this summer, 7 years on from being crowned the country's most desirable man. Just months after taking Mr. England title, Ayers committed full-time to sport, and the gamble has paid off. The whole modelling was a massive journey and a fantastic opportunity to raise my platform, the 35-year-old said. But it was never in the plan, whereas being an athlete always has been. And as soon as I realised that the Paralympic Games was such a huge moment, I was set on it being my life path. I have just won the Mr. England competition in 2017 when I was invited onto the talent programme. And in 2018, I had to make the decision of which route I was going to take. The athlete life has always been the thing that stood out to me, so I parked the Mr. England to one side and handed the banner over to the runner-up. And there is a nice picture with Jack Ayers in his preferred role as a Paralympic canoeer in a picture beside the article.
Adversity turns Ty into a star both in and out of the pool, an article by Paul Edison. Alice Ty is a Paralympic champion who has demonstrated she is equally adept in front of the camera as she is in the pool. The 25-year-old from Poole heads to Paris looking to add to a medal collection that includes a gold and bronze from Rio 2016, plus World, European and Commonwealth titles. When injury forced Ty out of the Games in Tokyo 3 years ago, she became one of the revelations of the Games as a pundit on Channel 4. Born with bilateral talipes, better known as clubfoot, Ty first caught the eye of a scout after getting her para-swimmer classification aged 11. She said, "In 2 years, I went from swimming for the hell of it to going to European Championships and medalling. I still feel like I'm in a bit of a snowball." Rio wasn't that great. I had really bad issues with my mental health. I was overwhelmed. I ended up going because my parents and grandparents had invested so much in me as a swimmer, my coaches as well. When I won, those medals weren't for me. I'm glad I did because I missed out on Tokyo, and now my granddad has passed away, so it's the only time he got to see me at a Paralympic Games. Since missing out on Tokyo, Ty has been diagnosed with ADHD and underwent an amputation of her right leg in 2022, but has come back to win gold at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham and last year's World Championships. She said, "I'm so excited for Paris. I had my amputation a couple of years ago, so I don't know my new limit. There is way less pressure. It's a case of enjoying it. Hopefully I swim fast and come away with medals, but if not, then it's no big deal."
Thank you. That brings us to the end of this week's recording of the news from the Courier. Please, please, please return your memory sticks. You know how to do that, I'm sure, without me telling you. I've been recording with Boomerang since 1989, when I was recruited along with 3 others from the Livingston Players to read regularly from the Courier. And throughout these years, I've read with lots of people, but now, owing to things beyond my control, this has to be my last recording, as the next time we're due a Boomerang, I won't have a driving licence. I'm sorry to have to give up, but needs must. 1989, for heaven's sake, that was a century ago. That was last century. I think I've done all right. So, it's farewell from Bob.
Oh, Bob, I can't believe you just dropped that news on us, 1989, my goodness. Well, all I can say is that's sad news indeed, but thank you so much. It's been a real privilege working alongside you this wee while. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night from Linda.
Bob, I've only known you a short while, but it's been a pleasure working with you, and congratulations on such long service, and good luck for the future. It's good night from Steve.
I'm hoping the future will be a bit shorter.
Well, it's good night from me, but we're very sad that you've come to this point, Bob, and well done for all these long years of service. Well done.
I've enjoyed every minute. I do love showing off, and I've been allowed to show off.
And it's good night from Wendy. And I say I've not known you for that long, but it's been a real pleasure. And I'll start crying. So.
Thank you, Wendy.